Hey, how's it going? I'm Scott, the Home Loan Guy. Here's a quick recap of mortgage rates, what they happened in May, and what we're expecting going into June and then through the summer. So mortgage rates over the month of May definitely were very stable for the most part. We actually had a nice little run where they dipped down a little bit, and we actually got into the upper sixes there for a while. We were hanging out in the high sevens, mid sevens for a long time, and we started feeling like they were coming down, which is great news. Then all of a sudden, right near the end of May, we saw rates tip back up and we jumped back into the sevens again. And it does depend on your situation, your scenario, and what you qualify for, of course. One of the things I like to look at when I'm tracking the mortgage rates is I look at the Freddie Mac's Prime Mortgage Market Survey, and this gives just an average over the U.S. itself. Just gives you a big picture, broad strokes idea of where rates are and what they're doing. And if we kind of just look at this year, we've just seen this small little trends where it's just been kind of just trailing along here. Nothing too crazy on it. We did see last year and back in October, we had rates tip out almost close to 8% for some of my clients. And then they dipped down into the mid sixes early part of this year. And then now we've been back up a little bit. So what we're expecting and why rates are where they are, that's one of the things we always talk about is what's causing rates to stay where they are and not come down. At the beginning of this year, there was expected to be up to six Fed rate cuts for the Fed fund rate. And the reason they're doing this, where they raised the Fed fund rate many times over the last 18 months, 24 months, was to battle inflation. Inflation has been too high. The idea is we are, as an economy, spending too much money. And as we spend too much money, people just keep raising the cost of goods. The more we spend, the more they can charge for it, the more we pay because we keep spending the money. So the idea is they were raising the Fed fund rate to help make things more expensive so we would stop spending money. Raising this Fed fund rate is kind of a trickle-down effect where they can raise the cost of exchanging money back and forth, which then affects everything else, like short-term money to lines of credit, business lines of credit, things like that, to make goods cost more money. The idea is if we make things more expensive, we'll stop spending money. If we stop spending money, that would then cause inflation to come down and prices to come down right after that. So the idea is the feds are trying to slow down our economy from spending too much, and they're using the Fed fund rate to do that. They've raised it up to the point where now they believe it's in a position where it is causing that. And so one of the things I look at is this chart. We can actually see that inflation got out of control. This is back about a year ago or so. We were seeing inflation in 4%. The goal is to get inflation target around 2%. And so they've been making these moves, and now they realize, okay, we're at a strong spot where things are expensive enough that we should start seeing a slow in the economy. And while it is working, it started to come down early this year. We saw it come back up out of the spring. We started seeing people spend money again. And a lot of this actually happens is kind of post holidays. Reports come out showing the holiday spending, things like that. So now that we're going into the summer, we're going to see they're not going to raise the rates. We're also not going to cut rates because things are not moving down as quickly as they want. So they're going to hold rates down. So instead of our expected, up to 6 cuts of the Fed fund rate, they're saying maybe 1, maybe 2 this year to help ease some of those costs of goods as we see this inflation come down. So they basically are causing pain for the economy to make things more expensive, and eventually that will trickle down through into the mortgage rates. So when we look at the mortgage rates, they are just like I said, they're hanging in there around this 7% number. We expect kind of going forward, we're going to be just trickling along in this mid sixes to low sevens will kind of be the new normal through the summer until they actually lower those Fed fund rates. Hopefully come September is expected. The first Fed cut would be most likely is the highest percentage as far as the expectation. There's no guarantee that. It could happen as soon as June 11th is the next Fed meeting. We could see that happen, but there's real no signs that that is going to happen. If it does, of course, we would see mortgage rates trail in after that. But the biggest idea is as inflation comes down, we will eventually start seeing rates come down. So the general belief is we will see rates come down in the near future, maybe 12 months, maybe 18 months. But for the summer, don't expect a lot of rate cuts or a lot of adjustments to the rates. We'll expect things being between the mid sixes and the sevens going into the fall. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Scott, the Home Loan Guy. Talk to you soon.